Anya Petrova wasn't who anyone thought she was. At Peterson Air Force Base, she was simply the quiet janitor's daughter. Her mother, Irina, had cleaned the base's offices for over 20 years, and Anya had followed in her footsteps after high school. Most days, Anya blended into the background, pushing her cleaning cart down the long, sterile hallways, the scent of lemon cleaner a constant companion. She was small, almost bird-like. With dark hair she usually kept tied back in a practical bun. Her eyes, though, were a startling shade of blue, and they often held a faraway look, as if she were dreaming of something beyond the walls of the base. Everyone saw her as shy, perhaps a little lonely. The pilots, those confident young men and women in their flight suits, barely registered her presence. They were focused on their missions, their training, the adrenaline rush of flying. Anya, in their eyes, was just part of the scenery, another fixture of the base like the flagpoles or the coffee machine. But Anya harbored a secret, one so big it felt like a caged bird beating against her ribs, desperate to be free. It was a secret that contrasted sharply with the mundane reality of her daily life, a secret that made her heart ache with longing every time she heard the roar of a jet engine overhead. Because Anya Petrova, the quiet janitor's daughter, was also one of the most skilled fighter pilots the Air Force had ever trained. The dream had taken root long ago, in the small town just outside the base perimeter where Anya grew up. Their house, a modest, paint-chipped bungalow, sat right under the flight path. Every day, from the time she was a little girl, Anya would watch the jets scream across the sky, leaving trails of white smoke in their wake. The roar of the engines wasn't noise to her. It was music, a symphony of power and freedom. While other kids played with dolls or dreamed of being doctors and teachers, Anya was building model airplanes out of cardboard boxes and scraps of wood. She devoured books about aviation, memorizing the names of different aircraft and the history of flight. Her bedroom walls were plastered with posters of fighter jets, their sleek lines and powerful engines filling her with awe. Her mother, Irina, didn't quite understand Anya's fascination. Irina had always wanted a stable, predictable life for her daughter, something far removed from the dangers and uncertainties of the military. "Flying is for other people, Anya," she'd say gently, her voice laced with concern. "It's not a life for us." But Anya couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant for something more than cleaning floors and scrubbing toilets. The sky was calling to her, and she couldn't ignore its siren song. The rumble of a jet taking off was a promise whispered on the wind. So, against her mother's wishes, and fueled by a burning desire, Anya secretly applied to the Air Force Academy after high school. She aced the entrance exams, her natural aptitude for math and physics shining through. The physical training was brutal, pushing her to her limits, but she refused to give up. She excelled in flight simulations, her innate understanding of aerodynamics and her quick reflexes making her a natural pilot. Anya graduated at the top of her class, earning accolades for her precision flying and her strategic thinking. Instructors raved about her calm demeanor under pressure and her ability to make split-second decisions. She earned her wings, becoming a fully qualified fighter pilot, ready to defend her country. But then, she made a choice, a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. Instead of accepting a prestigious assignment to a fighter squadron, Anya quietly requested a transfer back to Peterson Air Force Base. She turned down the chance to soar through the skies, to engage in aerial combat, to live the dream she had worked so hard to achieve. She chose to return home, to become the janitor's daughter once more, and to hide her true identity from the world. Why? That was the question that haunted her every day. A question that she wasn't quite ready to answer, even to herself. Each day was a carefully constructed performance. Anya would arrive at the base before dawn, slipping through the security gates with a nod to the guards who knew her as Irina's daughter. She'd change into her blue uniform, the practical clothes a stark contrast to the sleek flight suit she used to wear with such pride. She'd start her rounds, emptying trash cans, mopping floors and wiping down desks. The scent of cleaning fluid masked the lingering aroma of jet fuel and adrenaline that permeated the air. The hardest part was overhearing the pilots' conversations. They'd talk about their missions, the challenges they faced, the thrill of pushing their planes to the limit. Anya would listen intently, her mind filling in the details, imagining herself in the cockpit, feeling the G-force pressing against her body, making life-or-death decisions in the blink of an eye. Sometimes, she'd catch a glimpse of them heading to the simulators, and a pang of longing would shoot through her. She knew the intricacies of those machines better than almost anyone. She could anticipate the challenges they'd face, the maneuvers they'd attempt. The irony wasn't lost on her. She, a highly trained fighter pilot, was reduced to cleaning up after the very people who were living her dream. But she kept her secret locked away, hidden behind a facade of quiet humility. The walls felt like they were closing in on her. The why of it all was beginning to fade from her memory, buried under the weight of the daily grind. A storm was brewing, both literally and figuratively. A massive hurricane was barreling towards the coastline, threatening to disrupt operations at the base. More importantly, a critical piece of reconnaissance equipment on a satellite had malfunctioned, jeopardizing national security. The satellite, crucial for monitoring potential threats, was rapidly losing functionality. Fixing it required a risky and complex maneuver, launching a specialized repair module into orbit and docking it with the ailing satellite. Normally, this wouldn't be a huge problem, but a series of unfortunate events, pilot illnesses, training accidents, and unexpected transfers, had left the base critically short-staffed. The few pilots who were qualified to handle the mission were either unavailable or lacked the specific expertise required. Tension hung heavy in the air, thick and suffocating like the humidity before a storm. Colonel Petrov, the base commander and no relation to Anya, paced his office, his brow furrowed with concern. Time was running out, and the pressure to find a solution was immense. He knew the risks of launching the mission with an underqualified pilot, but the consequences of inaction were even greater. The fate of the mission, and perhaps much more, rested on his shoulders. He needed a miracle, and he needed it fast. Little did he know, that miracle was closer than he thought, pushing a cleaning cart down the hallway. Anya was cleaning the observation window outside the simulator room when she heard the frustrated shouts. Lieutenant Davis, a promising but inexperienced pilot, was struggling with the docking procedure. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he repeatedly failed to align the repair module with the satellite. "I don't get it!" he exclaimed, throwing his hands up in exasperation. "I've run this simulation 100 times, and I still can't get it right." Colonel Petrov, observing from the control room, sighed heavily. He knew Davis was pushing himself, but time was running out. Anya, her cleaning forgotten, watched intently. She saw the problem immediately. Davis was relying too much on the automated systems and not enough on manual control. He was fighting the computer instead of working with it. Almost without thinking, Anya spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "He needs to adjust the yaw angle manually just before the final approach. The computer is overcorrecting." Lieutenant Davis, startled, turned to see who had spoken. Anya, realizing what she had done, shrank back, her face flushed with embarrassment. But it was too late. Colonel Petrov had heard her. He stepped out of the control room, his eyes narrowed, and fixed Anya with a piercing stare. "Did you say something, Mississippi?" "Petrova," Anya mumbled, avoiding his gaze. "Anya Petrova." I didn't mean to intrude. But the seed had been planted. The quiet janitor had spoken, and in doing so, she had unwittingly revealed a glimpse of the hidden knowledge she had tried so hard to conceal. Lieutenant Davis, initially annoyed by the interruption, found himself strangely intrigued. He was desperate, and the woman's suggestion, though unexpected, had a ring of truth to it. He approached Anya, his frustration giving way to curiosity. "What did you say about the yaw angle?" he asked, his voice softening. "How did you know that?" Anya hesitated, her mind racing. She could deny it, pretend she didn't know what she was talking about. But the lie felt heavy on her tongue. I just noticed," she stammered. "It's probably nothing." Colonel Petrov, however, wasn't about to let it go. He stepped closer, his presence imposing. "Miss Petrova, with all due respect, That was a very specific observation. One that suggests a considerable understanding of flight dynamics. Where did you learn that? Anya felt trapped, cornered like a wild animal. She knew she couldn't run. She couldn't hide. The truth was about to come out, whether she was ready or not. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding in her chest. I went to the Air Force Academy, she confessed, her voice barely audible. I graduated at the top of my class. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. The silence that followed was deafening. Lieutenant Davis stared at her in disbelief, while Colonel Petrov's expression remained unreadable. The game was up. The secret was out. The initial reaction was, understandably, disbelief. You expect us to believe that you, a janitor, are actually a top-tier fighter pilot? Lieutenant Davis asked, his voice laced with skepticism. Several other pilots, drawn by the commotion, had gathered around, their faces mirroring his incredulity. Colonel Petrov, however, remained cautiously observant. He'd seen too much in his career to dismiss anything out of hand. Miss Petrova, he said, his tone measured. Do you have any documentation to support your claim? Anya nodded, her shoulders slumping slightly. It's all in storage, back home. I never thought I'd need it again. The other pilots exchanged glances. It all sounded too far-fetched. A highly trained pilot giving it all up to clean toilets? It defied logic. Why would you do that? Someone asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Anya hesitated, struggling to find the words to explain her complicated motivations. It's complicated, she finally said, her voice barely a whisper. Personal reasons. Personal reasons? One of the more cynical pilots scoffed. That's it? We're facing a national security crisis, and you're telling us it's personal reasons that you've been hiding your skills? This is insane. Colonel Petrov raised his hand, silencing the murmurs of dissent. Enough, he said, his voice firm. Regardless of the reasons, if Miss Petrova is who she claims to be, we can't afford to dismiss her out of hand. We need to verify her story. He turned back to Anya, his eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and hope. Miss Petrova, are you willing to prove it? Anya hesitated only for a moment. The thought of stepping back into a cockpit, of feeling the power of a jet engine beneath her, was intoxicating. It was a chance to reclaim a part of herself she had thought lost forever. But the fear of failure, of not living up to the expectations, also gnawed at her. Yes, she said, her voice gaining strength. I'll prove it. Colonel Petrov nodded, a flicker of satisfaction in his eyes. Good. We'll start with the simulator. Lieutenant Davis, prepare a program. The most challenging scenario you can devise. Anya was led back into the simulator room, the same room she had been cleaning just hours before. But this time, she wasn't holding a mop. She was sitting in the pilot's seat, her hands gripping the controls. The familiar weight of the helmet settled on her head, and the virtual world sprang to life around her. The scenario was brutal. A complex aerial combat exercise against multiple enemy fighters, followed by a precision bombing run on a heavily defended target. Anya took a deep breath, cleared her mind, and let her instincts take over. The next few minutes were a blur of coordinated maneuvers, split-second decisions, and flawless execution. Anya danced through the virtual sky, outmaneuvering her opponents with ease, evading their attacks with precision. She weaved and dodged, locked on targets, and unleashed a barrage of virtual missiles, decimating the enemy squadron. Then, with unwavering focus, she guided her aircraft towards the target, navigating a gauntlet of anti-aircraft fire, and delivered a perfect strike. When the simulation ended, the room was silent. The other pilots stared at Anya in stunned silence, their skepticism replaced by awe. Even Colonel Petrov couldn't hide his impressed grin. Anya had proven herself beyond any doubt. She was a fighter pilot through and through. The question now was, would they let her fly?
Colonel Petrov façait un monumental dilemma.
On one hand, he had a proven pilot, someone who had demonstrated exceptional skills in the simulator. On the other hand, he had Anya Petrova, A woman who had spent the last 6 years cleaning toilets. A woman with a mysterious past and unexplained reasons for abandoning her career. Could he, in good conscience, entrust her with such a critical mission? The stakes were incredibly high. Failure meant not only the loss of the satellite but also a significant blow to national security. The pressure from Washington was mounting, and every minute that ticked by brought them closer to disaster. He consulted with his senior officers, seeking their advice. Some were vehemently opposed to the idea. "It's too risky, sir," one argued. "We can't just throw a janitor into the cockpit and expect her to save the day. We need someone with recent flight experience, someone who's been actively involved in training exercises." Others were more cautiously optimistic. "She clearly has the talent, sir," another officer pointed out, "and she seems to have a unique understanding of the mission parameters. Maybe, just maybe, she's our best shot." Ultimately, the decision rested with Colonel Petrov. He weighed the risks and benefits, considering all the factors. He looked at Anya, standing quietly in the corner. Her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. He saw not just a janitor, but a woman with a burning passion for flying. A woman who had sacrificed everything for reasons he didn't yet understand. He made his decision. "We're going to give her a test flight," he announced, his voice resolute. "But it's going to be under close supervision. If she shows even a hint of hesitation or incompetence, we pull the plug. Is that understood?" The roar of the jet engines was deafening as Anya climbed into the cockpit of the F-16 Fighting Falcon. It had been 6 long years since she had last felt this sensation, the vibration of raw power humming through her bones. The familiar scent of jet fuel and electronics filled her nostrils, triggering a flood of memories. With Colonel Petrov watching intently from the control tower, Anya taxied the jet onto the runway. She ran through the pre-flight checklist, her fingers moving with practiced ease. Every switch, every gauge, every system check was performed with meticulous precision. It was as if no time had passed at all. She received clearance for takeoff. Anya pushed the throttle forward, and the jet surged ahead, accelerating down the runway with incredible force. The G-force pressed her back into her seat as she lifted off the ground, soaring into the clear blue sky. The test flight was designed to push her to her limits. She performed a series of complex maneuvers, barrel rolls, Immelman turns, and high-speed dives, each executed with flawless precision. She demonstrated her ability to handle the aircraft at extreme speeds and altitudes, proving that her skills were as sharp as ever. Colonel Petrov watched her every move, his face etched with concentration. He communicated with her frequently, testing her knowledge of the aircraft systems and her ability to respond to unexpected emergencies. Anya answered every question with confidence and expertise, impressing him with her calm demeanor and her unwavering focus. After an hour of intense flying, Anya brought the jet back to the base, executing a perfect landing. As she climbed out of the cockpit, she was met with a round of applause. Even the most skeptical pilots couldn't deny what they had just witnessed. Anya Petrova was not just a janitor. She was a truly exceptional fighter pilot. Now, Colonel Petrov had no doubt. She was their only hope. The mood on the base began to shift. The initial disbelief and skepticism gradually gave way to a grudging respect, and then, finally, to a cautious acceptance. The pilots who had once dismissed Anya as just the janitor's daughter now saw her in a completely different light. They peppered her with questions about her training, her flying techniques, and her experiences at the academy. They listened intently, absorbing every word, recognizing that she possessed a wealth of knowledge and skill that they could learn from. Even Irina, Anya's mother, was starting to come around. She had always worried about Anya's safety, fearing the dangers of flying. But seeing her daughter's passion and her unwavering determination, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She still didn't fully understand Anya's decision to give up her career, but she was starting to accept that it was Anya's life, and she had to make her own choices. The biggest change, however, was in Anya herself. The weight of her secret had lifted, and she seemed to stand taller, her eyes sparkling with renewed confidence. She was no longer hiding, no longer pretending to be someone she wasn't. She was finally embracing her true identity, and it felt exhilarating. She found herself smiling more, laughing more, and engaging with the other people on the base in a way she never had before. She was becoming part of the community, accepted and respected for who she truly was. Anya Petrova, fighter pilot. The whispers followed her, but now they were filled with awe and admiration instead of doubt and suspicion. The transformation was complete. The day of the mission dawned gray and overcast, mirroring the tension that hung heavy in the air. Anya stood on the tarmac, dressed in her flight suit, the familiar weight of the helmet in her hand. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. This was it, the moment of truth. Colonel Petrov approached her, his expression serious but encouraging. "Are you ready, Anya?" he asked. "Yes, sir," she replied, her voice firm. "I won't let you down." He placed a hand on her shoulder, his gaze locking with hers. "I know you won't. Just remember your training, trust your instincts, and bring that satellite back online." As Anya climbed into the cockpit, she could feel the eyes of everyone on the base watching her. She ran through the pre-flight checklist one last time, ensuring that everything was perfect. She received clearance for takeoff and taxied onto the runway. The launch was smooth and uneventful. Anya soared into the sky, leaving the base behind. As she climbed to the designated altitude, she could feel the familiar thrill of flight coursing through her veins. She was back where she belonged. But this was no ordinary flight. This was a high-stakes mission with the fate of the nation hanging in the balance. The journey to the satellite was long and arduous, fraught with potential dangers. Anya had to navigate through treacherous weather conditions, avoid potential threats, and maintain constant communication with ground control. She knew that one wrong move could have disastrous consequences. But she was ready. She had trained for this her entire life, and she wouldn't fail. Reaching the satellite was only the beginning. The docking procedure was even more complex than it had been in the simulator. The satellite was tumbling erratically, making it difficult to align the repair module. Anya had to rely on her instincts, making minute adjustments to her trajectory, compensating for the satellite's unpredictable movements. "Anya, be careful." Colonel Petrov's voice crackled over the comms. "The satellite's power levels are fluctuating. There's a risk of electrical discharge." Anya ignored the warning, her focus laser-locked on the task at hand. She knew that every second counted. She activated the repair module's docking clamps, carefully maneuvering it into position. Suddenly, a jolt of electricity surged through the aircraft, throwing Anya against her seat. Alarms blared in the cockpit, and the controls went haywire. "Anya, what's happening?" Colonel Petrov shouted, his voice filled with panic. "I've been hit by an electrical discharge," Anya replied, struggling to regain control of the aircraft. "The systems are failing." She knew that she was running out of time. The satellite was on the verge of total failure, and her own aircraft was in danger of being destroyed. She had to make a decision, and she had to make it fast. Ignoring the flashing warning lights, Anya activated the manual override, bypassing the damaged systems. She took control of the repair module's robotic arms, carefully connecting them to the satellite's power grid. Sparks flew as she completed the connection. The satellite shuddered, then stabilized. The power levels began to rise, slowly but surely. "She did it!" someone shouted in the control room. "The satellite's back online." A wave of relief washed over Anya as she heard the news. She had succeeded. Against all odds, she had saved the day. She was a hero. As Anya's jet touched down on the runway, a crowd of people erupted in cheers. The entire base had come out to welcome her home. Pilots, technicians, even Colonel Petrov himself, were there to greet her. They hoisted her onto their shoulders, parading her around the tarmac like a conquering hero. The news of her bravery and skill spread like wildfire, making headlines around the world. Anya Petrova, the janitor's daughter who had secretly been a fighter pilot, became an instant sensation. She was interviewed on television, featured in magazines, and invited to speak at conferences. But amidst all the fanfare, Anya never forgot her roots. She remained humble and grounded, always remembering the quiet life she had once lived. She continued to visit her mother every day, helping her with the household chores and listening to her stories. As for her reasons for giving up flying in the first place, Anya finally felt ready to share them. She explained that after graduating from the academy, she had become disillusioned with the military lifestyle. She had witnessed too much violence, too much destruction, and she had begun to question the purpose of it all. She had wanted a simpler life, a life free from conflict and bloodshed. But the crisis at the base had forced her to confront her past and to realize that her skills were needed. She had learned that it was possible to use her talents for good, to protect and defend, rather than to attack and destroy. Anya embraced her new role as a fighter pilot, dedicating herself to serving her country with honor and integrity. She became a mentor to younger pilots, sharing her knowledge and experience, inspiring them to strive for excellence. She had finally found her place in the world, a place where she could be both a skilled aviator and a compassionate human being. Years passed, and Anya continued to serve as a fighter pilot, balancing her high-flying career with her commitment to her family and her community. She never forgot the lessons she had learned during her time as a janitor, and she always treated everyone with respect and kindness, regardless of their rank or position. She often visited local schools, sharing her story with young students, encouraging them to pursue their dreams, no matter how improbable they might seem. She told them that it didn't matter where they came from or what their parents did. What mattered was their passion, their determination, and their willingness to work hard. One day, a young girl approached Anya after one of her speeches. The girl was shy and hesitant, but her eyes sparkled with admiration. "Miss Petrova," she said, her voice barely a whisper, "I want to be a pilot too, but my family doesn't have much money." Anya smiled, remembering her own humble beginnings. She knelt down and looked the girl in the eye. "Don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't achieve your dreams," she said. "If you believe in yourself and you're willing to work hard, anything is possible." She then told the girl about the scholarship programs available at the Air Force Academy, encouraging her to apply. The girl's face lit up with hope. Anya Petrova's story became a legend, a testament to the power of perseverance, the importance of believing in yourself, and the transformative potential of embracing your true identity. She was proof that anyone, even a janitor's daughter, could reach for the sky and achieve the impossible. Her legacy lived on, inspiring generations to come. The end.